Okay, we'll start tonight's City of Olivet's Planning Community Design Commission for June 6, 2024 in order. Laura Ragsdale, are you going to be our acting secretary today to call the roll? Mike's on.
Sure.
Perfect.
Okay. Tim Spiegelglass,
Present.
Sam Wallach,
Present.
Daniel Rosenberg,
Present.
Brian Lewis is absent. Chairman Jagal.
Present. And Laura Ragsdale.
I say myself as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Laura Ragsdale is present.
Present. All right. Great. Appreciate you filling in like that. All right, so appreciate everyone being in attendance today. Just to kind of go over the procedures, we do follow an agenda type program. So we go through each agenda item one by one. Typically at each start of the item, we'll review the petition, kind of go over, or Carlos or staff will present it. There'll be some discussions amongst commission members with staff. Then we typically bring on the petitioner to kind of ask any more details or questions. And then we always bring it up for public comments if they're related to that item. We do have a time if there are public comments that are not related to any of the agenda items. We will have that right after we go over these procedures. And we do ask that anybody who does come to the podium, the podium, sorry about that. Please state your name and address for the record. And then if you're coming to the podium for general comments, either related to, or public comments related to general items or to a specific agenda item, we do ask that you limit your time to no more than 3 minutes to be respectful of everybody's time and to kind of make things move a little faster. That being said, for those who are, Carlos, do we have anybody online? Okay, good. Usually if we have some people online, we have to give some special instructions about Zoom and bringing them on and things like that, but we get to move on. So, all right, good. Carlos, did I miss anything?
No, sir. I believe you got everything covered.
Okay, fantastic. So then we'll move on to public comments. These are for items that are not related to anything on the agenda item. I don't see many people in the audience, but if there is a public comment that anyone would like to make, please come up to the podium. Seeing none, Carlos, can you just check online to confirm nobody else joined? Okay, well,
Chairman, nobody else is online.
good. We'll move on to new business. We'll go to item A, Chevy Chase subdivision, Highgate, Enfield roads right away.
Good evening, Commission. So before you today is a petition for a fence and landscape installation that is off of Highgate Highgate to Rio Vista and Enfield to Granada Way, which is part of the Chevy Chase subdivision. In front of you, the graphic depicts the Highgate Road to Rio Vista Drive location, as well as the Enfield Road to Granada Way. This is the petition to install a railing fence as part of the subdivision right away. And this location has had history. It actually backs up to, connects with Ladue. So it's kind of in that right of way that goes into the Ladue area, as well as that there have been issues with vehicles that have been driving through the common ground in the past, and it is in place to minimize the ability of the vehicles to cross that common ground into the Chevy Chase subdivision, and the petitioner is proposing to install a fence, railing, and landscape boulders. And under this proposal, the pedestrian access would be permitted, but vehicle would be too wide to cross through. So for review, we use chapter 435 for fences, as well as a portion of the section of the code that was focusing on ornamental fences on residential lots, which is section 435.030. And you have that within your staff report for specifics on what's required within the height and the distance between the split railings. And sort of site plan review, staff did use the section on ornamental fences for residential guidance. And through site plan review, the commission can grant the variation to the regulations under that chapter 435. And the variation that would be considered is to permit the railing fence in the subdivision right away. As part of this, also, you do have a packet provided by the petitioner that goes through kind of the steps of the different improvements, different landscape aspects, and what type of plantings and boulders are in place. The work that does not require a building permit. For instance, the flagstone reorientation of the flagstone walkway and the plantings, well, no, sorry, not the plantings, but some of the boulders have actually been already put in place. Carlos and I went and did a site visit a few days ago and checked it out, and looks very, very nice as well. However, the fence has not been constructed, and that's why it's in front of you today. You can see that for Highgate to Rio Vista, they plan on reorienting the walkway, which is already done, as well as the boulder has been put in place. This, the only thing that's needed is the fence. And then for Enfield, they actually moved that walkway kind of closer to that street sign, away from those plantings, and have installed the boulders. I can answer any questions, as well as Carlos and the petitioners here. For specifics on the fence, the petitioner could be a good source for that.
Sounds good. Does anybody on the commission have any questions or comments? Go ahead, Tim.
Is there any other fence like that in Chevy Chase? That's brick wood fence?
Not that I have seen, I'm not aware.
Is there any other fences that are common fences in throughout Chevy Chase?
Not that I'm aware of. I know there's a couple of retaining walls in place in the actual common grounds.
I
And-
honestly think that one time in the past, they used to have a split rail fence back there, and then it was torn down because it was. Yeah, yeah. So it's something that's historically has been there before.
And this is because people are driving vehicles down in that area where the grass, et cetera, to get to the other side on Ladue, or vice versa.
I think that's a question more specific for the
Petitioner.
Okay.
petitioner. Good question, but
Yeah, we'll bring the petitioner up right now.
Thank you. Tom Wham, 41 Rye Lane in Chevy Chase. I'm a trustee and the treasurer. And so, yeah, we actually got complaints from the trustees in Hacienda, and they came to us and said, hey, we see you're going to do some landscaping work, but we've seen vehicles, golf carts, commercial mowers. And in one case, Luke Cohen, who lives right there at the corner of Rio Vista, the police were chasing a car and they went right through that area. And so they came to us and said, why don't we plan for limiting foot traffic and bike traffic? And so that's where the fence comes in and the boulders.
Wow, that's good. I have to say, this was a very nice report. So, for what you did, this was great. It was very explanatory. Does anybody on the commission have any questions for Tom?
I assume the neighbors have been notified, no objections.
I've met with both adjacent neighbors and, walked it through. That was months ago. And then we've also provided for the neighbors across from where we're doing the work. We provided them with scope documents, so they have that in front of you. And we have gotten no feedback on that.
What about Hacienda?
The two adjacent neighbors in Hacienda are the ones that we met with, because they're literally, their driveways are right there at the walkthrough for Rio Vista.
And you guys did this in conjunction with Hacienda?
Yeah, yeah. In
correct?
fact,
So the
we're,
trustees
it's
there.
a
they're all-
joint venture and we're splitting the cost.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Good, good, good. Okay, anybody else have any questions? Anything else you want to say about it?
No,
All right.
other than, yes, there was a split rail fence there. We just pulled the pieces out from underneath the tree.
Evidence.
Evidence, we have evidence.
Good, good, good. All
And
right.
that was my only concern, was the longevity of that, of putting something like that in. And I think because you had that before and there's nothing else to match, I think it's okay.
Yeah.
Is my thing about it. But
And-
yeah, it's gonna take maintenance is the problem.
We
So-
figured the fence in its cedar is gonna last 7 years, which is why we also were putting in viburnum plantings. And so between the fence and then the plantings growing up, that becomes the fence long-term.
Right, right. I think it's good.
Good, good.
Okay?
Good. All right. Hey, thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. So now at this point, if there's any public comments related to this item, Carlos, did we check I don't see anybody. in
there's
the
nobody
audience.
online, sir.
Nobody online.
Mhm.
So that being said.
Chairman, I would note one item if permitted.
Yeah.
we did, in regards to information to subdivisions and all that, we did send out notifications to all properties within 300 feet.
Oh, good.
You know, on both sides, on the Ladue and Olivet side. In addition to that, though, the next petition is somewhat near, so we tried to make sure, you know, that it wouldn't be confusing, you know, so people would know that there would be two items that were placed. So just a heads up on that.
Okay.
And then the second item is that for some flexibility, the overall height, I think we listed it as 36 inches, and we're asking the commission to consider 42 inches, just in case. And what we do know is that the posts are a little bit over 5 feet, typically about 18 inches into the ground, but the railings will kind of be lower from the post line. So just to give some flexibility on that part.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay,
That
thank
makes
you,
sense.
Chairman.
I appreciate it, Carlos, and I assume there were no emails or comments from those postings.
No, sir.
Okay, good, good. That being said, is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
Motion to approve the petition for site plan review for a fence and landscape rock installation located within the Chevy Chase subdivision and the Highgate Enfield Roads rights of way presented in the memorandum from the Department of Planning and Community Development dated June 6, 2024, subject to any staff conditions noted there.
Motion's been made by Sam Wallach. Do I hear a second?
Second.
And seconded by Daniel Rosenberg. Carlos, you please call the vote.
Commissioner Wallach,
Approved.
Commissioner Spiegelglass,
Approved.
Commissioner Rosenberg,
Approved.
Commissioner Regisel,
Approved.
Commissioner Jurgel,
Approved.
and the motion passes unanimously 5-0. The next step in the process would be the application for the building permit, which they've submitted. We just need to get that reviewed. So
Good, good, good.
thank you, Mr. Plum.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on. Let me get my agenda item. We'll move on to item B, which is 11 Highgate Road. Jeff?
So before you today is a petition for 11 Highgate Road, which is looking at a fiberglass pool and composite deck pad, as well as flat work that would be going around the pool. For some specifics, it's 200 square foot fiberglass pool. There would be 160 square foot of flat work and then a 600 square foot composite deck. This deck is going to be a 2-tiered deck, and you can see that kind of in the photo of that site plan. Just so you know, on the next page, we'll get to it, but the graphic kind of depicts that deck will actually go up to the pool and then stop, and the flat work will go around the rest of the pool. This is before the commission because the amount of flat work of the existing and proposed exceeds the maximum allowed to be approved administratively. So per section of 400-1592, which focuses on accessory structures, the total square footage of the combined area of all flat work on the lot may not exceed the greater of 5% of the lot area or 500 square feet. So 5% of the lot area would allow up to 571 square feet of flat work, both existing and proposed. Existing already, there's approximately 435 square foot of existing concrete patio, as well as a wood porch that's kind of on the lower right corner of that graphic that you can see there. And then that equates to it. So there's kind of, as of right now with the proposed, there would be 595 square feet of total flat work. So that's kind of puts it at 24 square feet over the amount permitted by code, which requires the commission's approval, as well as the maximum square footage allowed of all accessory structures. So per the same section of code 400-1592, in no case shall the total square footage of the combined area of all accessory structures on a lot may exceed 10% of the lot area. So this means 11 Highgate Road per code cannot exceed 1,143 square feet of total accessory structure area. The commission does not have authority to permit the maximum square footage of all of the accessory structures to exceed 10%. So as of right now, that puts the deck at 600 square feet, the proposed pool, which will count as half. So instead of 200, it will be 100 square feet because per code, 160 square feet of that pool flat work and that 435 of the existing concrete flat work and porch would put it at 1,295 total square footage, which puts it at 152 square feet over what's permitted by code. So the applicant will have to reduce the square footage in order for the commission to consider the motion of approval, and this can be done with a condition within the motion. In terms of our community design review, everything, nothing stood out that were any concerns. Except for stormwater, we don't have any information pertaining to how that stormwater is going to occur or what BMPs are necessary. However, we do suggest that they implement some sort of BMP within the southwest corner of the lot, which is with that graphic will be the bottom left of the lot. Due to the topography of the lot, it drops towards that corner. I meant to show the topography lines on that graphic, and I'm sorry I didn't. They're kind of faintly shown on there underneath. I should have highlighted them better and actually put them over the graphic. I just realized that. I'm sorry. So, but that staff suggests to look at putting the BMPs in that corner.
What
Sorry.
kind of BMPs are you thinking of?
Well, I think it does, it would depend if it's necessary for an engineer.
Yeah,
right?
they would fall under the threshold, so of being required by an engineer, so they can use any type of best management practice. And there, as long as we know the specifics that they're using. So we've had the discussion with the petitioner, noting they're gonna have to put together something, whether it's a rock bed or some type of mulch or berm, or they can even look at you know, a cistern type of system, but that they would have to, you know, have to place something at the time that they apply for permits. Well, we're requesting that, you know, the commission provide us that latitude to make sure it's in there.
I do have another question, and it's like, a lot of the pools we look at, the majority of the decking is truly concrete, which is fully permeable or impermeable surface. But with the deck, I mean, you do get, it's, you know, you get water draining through.
I think this has concrete underneath the deck. It doesn't?
That's the lower deck. This is what I got here.
This is the house right here.
That's not a concrete, otherwise it's not. It's a deck.
Oh, yeah, you're right, I just see it.
Yeah. So that's the only thing I mean, I think this is a little different than what we've have seen with a lot of the pools that are full hard surface, impermeable, you know, work all the way around. Unless I'm missing something else with the intent of these, of that requirement.
No, it's just, it is something we probably need to look at the code. Right now, the code would consider it as coverage. Now, within the commission, if we have some type of verification that, let's say, like there's rock or it's you know, something under that's gonna soak that up, that can be considered as the BMP. And again, they are required to provide some type of BMP. However, there's two questions. We still consider the deck as coverage.
Right.
And they're over the maximum capacity of coverage that's permitted for that lot by 152 square feet. Talking with the petitioner, and they'll be glad to come up in a second. We're willing to work with them to find that 152. You know, it may be trimming down some of the existing or looking at alternatives for what's being proposed. We're asking the commission that they'll consider that and let us work with them in there.
Okay, okay, good.
This is also a legal non-conforming lot just due to the width. The lot width is 75 and by code, the minimum is usually 100. And so the total lot area is 11,429.25 feet, just to throw out some more information on that.
And I just have one other question, and that's related to the frame shed. Is that a new addition or is that existing?
The shed is actually in the process of being removed.
Okay.
Yep.
That explains that. Yeah, yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. Does any commission members have any more questions for staff on this?
And Chairman, I'll note also that the subdivision trustee who was just here, they're aware of the proposed, we sent out mailings, of course, and then they viewed the proposed improvements on Monday, I believe. during one of their meetings.
Oh, good, good. It's always good to have the neighborhood trustees, kind of sign off on things. So that's great. All right, thanks, Jack. I think at this point in time, it'd be great if the petitioner could come up and go through any of the items that we were talking about.
Jack and Carlos and
Oh, if you don't
Scott.
mind, sir, I hate to do this to you or
Yeah.
interrupt, but if you could state your name and
Oh, I'm
address for
sorry.
the record.
Lawrence Oddie, owner of Pro Base Spending, DBA Aqua Pool Pros, 301 Quiver Point Drive, Moscow Mills, Missouri.
Thank you.
All right. No, the guys at the city have been spectacular. They're kind of helping us walk through all the little nuances of the codes. One of the things that I've got to get turned into the guys tomorrow or Monday is I think we're going to pull the pool a little closer. Originally, Lisa, the homeowner, she was wanting to have a limited amount on the far end away from the deck of decking around the pool. So we're going to tighten that up, eliminate that by 2.5 feet. When just getting technical, when we close pools in the winter, you've seen in the past at your friends or family's house or your house, you've got the springs that hold the safety cover. On that narrow side, they have a D-ring, so we just hook them on there and cinch it up the other way. So, yeah.
That'd be pretty easy and nice.
Yeah, well, she was wanting to do wood deck all the way around it. Unfortunately, I showed her a picture of a pool from Brazil where there's no building codes. And so the guy said, we probably need to do concrete around that outside because it's a 2-dimensional improvement rather than 3-dimensional.
Gotcha.
And she's open to what we need to do. The other thing is, again, based on your guys' conversation and ladies, yes, there would be, the deck is going to be a Trex deck. They've got the details on that, but it will just have rock underneath. But just to cover everything, we're going to put a water retention basin in that far bottom corner. I mean, with a piece of equipment, it'll take 30 minutes to dig it and put it in. Unlike some guys that charge customers $10,000 to do that. It's called service. So, but other than that, we're working closely with the folks over at Building Division.
Good, good, good. That's great.
Yep.
Does any commission members have any specific questions or comments related to this
Pricing on pools, anything?
item? Leave some cards on the back.
There you go.
Any questions? Sam, did you have a question?
Just to confirm, you're talking about moving it back a little bit. Will that address the square footage issue that we've talked about?
I think the word is help.
Okay.
Good.
If address and help are somewhat synonymous,
Somewhat synonymous.
or as they said in Home Improvements, 220, 220.
Well, if there's no other further comments, I think let's just see if there's any public comments. I'm not expecting any.
All right.
But let's go through the procedures before we kind of talk about it anymore.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All
Anyone in the audience have any public comments related to this agenda item? I'm seeing none. Carlos, can you just check to see if there's anyone online?
Chairman, there is nobody online.
Okay, great. I'm comfortable with letting staff kind of work through and, to come up with those numbers. I think this makes sense in this particular item, as long as we get everything addressed, the way we need, so. Any other further discussion? Okay, since no further discussion, do I hear a motion?
Take this one.
All right,
Like, motion to authorize the approval of the petition for site plan, community design, and concept stormwater management review for a 200 square foot fiberglass in-ground pool, 600 square feet composite deck, and 160 square foot flatwork located at 11 Highgate Road as presented in the memorandum from the Department of Planning and Community Development dated June 6th, 2024, subject to any staff conditions noted therein. Do we need to read these conditions?
I don't think we do.
All right.
Yeah. Carlos, does that cover the fact that you guys are gonna go over
Yes.
those amounts? Okay, I just want to make sure that that was clear.
Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, good, good. Okay, motion's been made by Daniel Rosenberg. Do I hear a second?
Second.
And seconded by Tim Spiegelglass. Carlos, you please call the vote.
Commissioner Wallach,
Approved.
Commissioner Spiegelglass, Commissioner Rosenberg,
Approved.
Commissioner Ragsdale,
Approved.
Commissioner Druryl,
Approved.
and the motion passes unanimously 5-0.
Thank
And
you.
of course, the next step will be the submission of the application for the building permits.
Good. Okay, fantastic. We'll move on then to other business, and this is item A, 9310 Olive Boulevard, proposed child daycare services. Jack or Carlos?
Chairman, I'll give a quick overview here. Just bear with me as I try to. I think everybody's familiar with the old location of the St. Louis Academy of Dance. I believe it's address off of this 9310 Olive Boulevard in here. So it's kind of a little bit west of Dolores and east of Llewellyn, and approximately across the street from one of the entrances or from Newman Industrial Drive. So you have the Honeywell Intelligrated here on the east, and then the US Bank Call Center here on the west. And the Dance Academy had been there, I think, when they were last here around 2000, maybe plus or minus 2 years, had occupied a majority of that building. And they recently relocated to Olivet Center, where the old Tuesday morning complex or facility was at, down by Newcastle and Olive Boulevard. And they still have a lease on this property. So they've been actively trying to get somebody to sublease for them, and they approached us to talk about that there was some interest of putting a daycare. And daycare is something that was identified during our comprehensive planning process. We've also worked with other agencies in hopes of trying to attract some type of daycare facility here in Olivet. While we are served in there, we actually don't have one specific daycare in Olivet anymore since the development of the Olive Crossing. We used to have one there. We worked with the Miriam Academy in hopes that they could incorporate a daycare at their facility, but it was unfortunate that it just didn't work. And so when they approached us on this site, it sounded good. But the main concern on here is that the building facility, it's a good facility. It orients east to west, which doesn't make it ideal for a retail type of user because the front doors are facing the side in there. And it's a pretty narrow lot when you take a look at it in there. And I'll get you more of the county perspective, so you can see the property lines that are there. And it's kind of one of these remnant parcels that, you hope that somewhere there would be a good coordinated plan development to kind of reconnect all these parcels. It's one of the goals of our comprehensive plan. So there's some interconnectivity, and we can lessen some of the burden off of Olive Boulevard in there. But in this case, we're kind of just dealing with one specific lot in there. The building is vacant. We haven't had many inquiries about of possible users. Again, the rent's probably being paid for the owner, so it's the tenant, the previous tenants that are really trying to find some type of a user. So when we were approached on this, again, the use would be consistent with the goals and objectives of our comprehensive plan. We'd rather see a building in use than opposed to be vacant. But we did note and or bring it to the commission's attention that if there was one issue that is worthy of discussion for this site, it would be traffic. And so the Dance Academy kind of had their classes kind of spaced throughout the day, but you would get these spurts of people coming in and out and dropping on their classes. A daycare could be a little bit different in there, but you'll have these peak hours and peak times when people are being dropped off and picked up. More importantly, being that they would be at a younger age or infant level, it's going to take some time to get them in, get them out in there. And we wanted to make sure we were speaking with the applicant that that they take that into consideration, and we offer them an opportunity to talk to the commission about their use this site, and then also how they would address, some of those, they would have the same traffic concerns as the business owners too, but what they would suggest about mediating some of that. I think from a planning perspective and long run from our comprehensive plan, we would like to see some interconnectivity between this site and the adjacent sites in there where you could have a cross access and provide some type of secondary outlet in there, which sounds all great. And it's something, we really do want to advocate for. However, in this particular situation, and given the kind of lots that we're dealing with, these are like these small little remnant lots that are isolated in there. They're really, we don't know, I shouldn't say there really isn't, but what interest adjacent properties would have to have somebody else access on their property in there would probably be something, we don't know, in there. One of the things is to look at, well, through this site and through this process, it has to go through a conditional use process or special permit, is maybe looking at, acquiring an easement. So if in the future, one of these parcels adjacent to that develops, we have the easement in place. We kind of did that with the CVS. We did this with the price crossing and all that, and that is all good. However, again, we're dealing with a subtenant that's willing to take up the lease of a tenant who has a lease with an owner. And, I can't speak on behalf of that owner, what interests they have in doing so. But that would be something that we would continue discussions as we go through the process. My main interest here is to introduce you to the petitioner, their proposal, and their thoughts about the traffic concerns that we've expressed, and then to kind of gauge some of the interests of the commission, and then determine how they want to proceed from that point.
Carlos, I think the idea of getting the cross easement access makes a lot of sense, but we got to specify where that would be.
Mhm.
That's going to be,
Correct.
a challenge, because I mean, it'd be nice to say we just want some in the future.
Yes.
But depending on what the configuration is going to be, if they ever did consolidate, that's when it's going to be important.
Correct. So,
Okay.
right.
Okay.
So, Chairman, I'd be glad to answer any specific questions. If not, we did have a presentation that was prepared to introduce you to the site on this. I have Ms. Blair that's here to talk about that.
Great.
And if the commission would entertain that discussion.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Latoya Blair. I am currently the owner of a preschool Little Stems. Address is
Yes.
4344 Cypress Road in St. Anne, Missouri. So while he's pulling up the presentation, thank you, that was pretty quick. So the proposal before you is more about how can we serve students or serve younger children in the Olivet community and students that travel along the I-70 corridor. And so Dream STEAM Academy, so science, technology, engineering, and math. My current school is Little STEM, so little scientists, technologists, engineers, and mathematicians. And yeah, we can go to the next slide, please. These are just some data points that I received, and just talks about, as you all are probably aware, of the population here, the population of children between the ages of 0 and 9. And then I specifically highlighted the population of adults that potentially could have children, definitely above 44, but I just highlighted that specific age range for you all to see. So there's a lot of potential for people to have children, and there are already a lot of children that exist that need childcare and educational services. Okay, really quickly, I won't read it to you. I know how presentations go, but just a little bit about Little Stems and Dream STEAM. So for me, I am committed to education. I graduated from the University of Missouri, MIZ, in 2008. From there, I was a middle school teacher, instructional coach after that, and I serve as a school administrator currently. And so with that, just seeing students come into facilities that don't have or not equipped with the things that they need to be successful in life, And just kind of making sure that what I am giving them and the access that I'm giving all students, regardless of where they are and where they come from and what system they come through, everyone has a fair access to education. And so that's my goal here. So interchangeably, I would lie to you and say that that's not a mistake that Little Sims is in there. It should be Dream STEAM Academy, but same vision, same goal for all students to have access to quality education. Again, a little bit about me, it's up there, but you know, some of my educational background that uniquely qualifies me to lead a school, to serve students, and to teach teachers how to teach. That is where I'm passionate, and I can't teach you how to love children, but I can teach you how to teach them. So that's that's my goal here for Dream STEAM Academy in the Olivet community. All right. So I don't claim to be an architect, but I did take a screenshot of the aerial view of the the Olive location that I am hoping to lease. On this location, the state of Missouri came out and we did an assessment, a walkthrough, and we were able to identify a place for a playground. So that's highlighted in yellow. And then I spoke with them about just more about staff parking, and Carlos as well, about how we can block off those spaces for staff parking to alleviate cars coming in and out of that spot. Some of the arrows that I have included, of course, is just how traffic would flow in and traffic would flow out. Yeah. My proposal for more just trying to control the flow of traffic. Now, we all have made left turns on right turn only signs, but I would hope that the majority of my parents at this location would follow the signs. And so I couldn't find a sign with times, but I'm thinking about a right turn only sign between certain hours. So between peak drop off and peak pickup time for students. And so that way we're kind of depending on the light that is, you know, cardinal directions are important, I know, but to the left of the school. And, you know, once that light is red, we can get out of there pretty quickly. So that would be more about traffic coming in and out during those hours of operation. And the floor plan here, so I have already been approved, you know, for licensing if certain things happen. And so case managers from the state of Missouri have come out and took measurements, excuse me. And then so that's kind of where you see the numbers. Now, I know that student to teacher ratio is very important. In order to educate children, you can't pack 45 of them into a room. And so they just give you the number in which you could possibly have in that classroom. So those are the numbers that you see there. And that's how I'm going to section it off more so. And then if you look on the far left of the diagram, we would have a STEM center in there, STEAM center in there, where students would go to the STEAM center and then just be involved in different activities related to STEAM. In addition to that, thinking about traffic, I had spoken with a couple of teachers, and we talked about how we could have staggered drop-off times for students. And so, for example, if you're in an infant classroom, you would possibly, I didn't put it on the slide in time, sorry. But if you're in an infant classroom, your drop-off time could be, for example, between 7 and 7:45. If you're in a 2-year-old classroom, then that one, you know, would pick up after that. Now, everyone wouldn't be able to fall in that category because people have to go to work at a certain time, but it depends on students' availability and parents' availability. So kind of working within that to make sure that we can kind of stagger the traffic in a way that is safe for all students and parents for drop-off. Okay. And lastly, so this is just more of, you know, going through the process. So the next steps for me would be, of course, being here before you today, but after that, applying for a special use permit with owner approval, completing the fire and sanitation inspection for licensing, City of Olivet fire inspection and approval for drywall and electrical being put up to separate the classrooms to make them smaller, hiring a licensed contractor for playground fencing, wall construction and plumbing. I would have to add a toilet two toilets, excuse me, into the space. Final licensing inspection from the state of Missouri should be capitalized, and then complete business operating license and approval for Olivet in July. And then planning on doing an enrollment drive in September and opening in October.
Great, thank you
you.
very much. I appreciate it. Does anybody on the commission have any questions or comments? I have a couple.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Okay.
it's related to parking, you know, and like how many anticipated students are you hoping to have?
Sure.
You know, to meet your business plan and
mhm.
things like that.
Yeah, thank you for asking. So I have projected 50 as the magic number. And with all of those spaces that you saw on the diagram, we would chop those classrooms into smaller rooms.
Okay. And then parking, you know, I just can't remember, my kids are older, but with preschool, you know, I imagine most of the parents are gonna wanna park, take their kids
Yeah.
out and walk them in.
Yes, yes.
And then with 50 kids, you know,
Mhm.
that's a lot of people. So
Mhm.
trying to figure out like that whole staggered
Yeah.
pickup drop off time, you know, I think that's going to be a challenge, you know,
Mhm.
for you, especially since the playground is taking up, you know,
Some other spaces. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So like, you know, how many people do you expect to be pulling in and parking all at once?
Sure.
You know?
So that kind of speaks to more of the staggered drop-off time. So when students apply, or excuse me, when parents fill out the application for their student to attend, they would put down the hours that they would need care for. And so it's more about when we have the interview process for parents, it's more about, okay, having that intentional question about what time do you have to be at work? And then this would be your, essentially, this would be your drop-off time for your student. So ideally you would want to say, hey, infants come at this time, twos come, threes, whatever, at whatever time. But it's more about having the conversation and laying it all out about what students can come at this time. It could be a, you know, a wide range of ages, and then what students can leave at whatever, you know, would be leaving at whatever time.
Yeah, I assume some families have two kids that are
Mhm.
different
Yep,
ages. So
yep.
that's always going to be
Yes.
part of the challenge.
Yes,
too.
yes.
So it sounds like you're going to set it up as a schedule. So almost like appointment. type
Yes, that's the
things.
plan. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Great. Go ahead, Miss.
Thank you very much. I got just a couple questions. Where the playground's gonna be, what is the ground going to be right now? It is asphalt. How are you
Yes.
gonna address that?
Yeah, so currently with the state of Missouri guidelines, you don't have to have fall protection equipment on the ground if you don't have climbing equipment. Well, I want climbing equipment, so we're gonna have recycled tire, and that's what's been priced out for that size playground. I don't have the dimensions in front of me, but recycled tire for fall protection.
Okay, and one more question, if you could, bear, please. I did read your about the owner and a couple little comments down there where you indicate that it's a private company, that you will be supported in daily operations by the local school district, early childhood programs in the school district. So I kind of want to know a little bit more about what's that connection?
Yeah, so that's the goal. So I plan on having before and after care in summer programs. And so being able to enrich students in the summer with STEAM programs, so that will require me to partner with the local school district to see what programs they offer. And then how can I be a part of whatever flyer it is that goes out to students before school is, you know, ending. That's that partnership piece with the local school district.
And do you do that already with your existing?
So with my existing building, it's smaller. So I do not have the capacity to do before and after care, but we do have students go through a summer program, the existing students going into kindergarten, going through a summer program per se. Yeah.
And on the playground, I assume it's all going to be have curbs all the way around it.
Yes.
Fencing and go
Yes.
through all the
Yes.
professional buildings
Yes.
that-
So some bollards or bollards. Yeah, something like that. The things that,
Sure.
you know, the crash barriers, and then the privacy fencing. We wouldn't do chain link fencing. We would just do privacy fencing to fence them all in. And then they have to exit from the building. So they can't go outside and go around. There has to be exits from inside of the building straight to the playground.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Good. Tim?
I have more of a question for Carlos. Does this spacing meet the requirements for this use type of the parking spots? Is there enough parking spots for the use type?
Yeah, because they're kind of set, or the code takes into account that this is more of a drop off. So it's more concerned about the staffing parking than it is on the drop off. In there, the thing that we kind of have to take a closer look would be that movement coming in and out. And there, one car can block everybody from going through there, and whether it's through some striping or other mechanisms, that's one of the things we'll have to take a look at in there. But the parking overall, in terms of how many stalls are necessary, would be compliant with code in terms of what's been shown.
I've had my daughter at the dance academy, and that place, truthfully, when you're coming in and out of that place is a zoo, and I've seen accidents right there from that entrance. I think needs to be wider too as well, but I'm not sure how you do that.
That's an interesting idea. That'd probably be helpful.
No, it's really, really, really tight there. Really tight.
Especially where you start angling to the
Correct.
west,
Yeah.
and then you have to turn right.
That's part of the problem. The other problem is there's no turnaround in there. So you're
Yeah.
going in a parking spot to physically turn around, and that is not a very wide alleyway there. It's tight. I mean, that whole parking is tight.
The only place I could see be a turnaround would be the playground.
The playground.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and then the only other thing I could think of is put the playground in the front, but I don't know if that's would be a good idea
With the car, the traffic.
yeah.
If somebody hops that curve, it's,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
I
good.
think I like it back where it is.
Yeah, yeah.
So, unless you could do a turnaround or drop off where the grass is, but now we're getting rid of we're adding a lot more impermeable.
Yeah, but you're getting the playground. The vice versa. You're taking the asphalt away, putting a playground there. You can put
Oh, yeah.
surfaces.
Yeah.
Trading it off.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if there's even enough to turn around there. I personally think you're gonna have to have somebody out there kind of directing traffic, getting the kids out of the car, directing what's going on out there. Chaos.
Especially if you fill up all those spots, either somebody comes early or, and then the person's coming in for their scheduled time has no place to park. They're gonna block the move. Yeah.
You have no place to move.
Yeah.
What are the hours going to be overall?
6 to 6.
Are you gonna add parking flush to the playground? I could maybe go back to the previous slide if we can.
Yes, sir.
So next to where it's like a car down there right now
Yeah.
by the square. No, that's an idea. I didn't think about that, but I definitely feel like it would make sense to add more parking and even taking that little grass area away that exists kind of right there by the start of the playground square. At the bottom right, that's a trash receptacle, which I could possibly move to kind of extend something in that area for sure. But no, I definitely would absolutely consider adding some more striped spots right there.
I mean, you can't go too close to it because then when people back out, they're gonna, the trash will get in the way.
That's a good idea. That's also might be the best place to be doing your turnarounds.
Or reversing it only.
Yeah.
You may not want to even put parking down there and let all that area be somewhere where you can actually physically turn around.
Do you think
Right.
there's even enough
In
room
case you
though
get
for a
stuck.
turnaround?
There'd be a 3-point turn, but you definitely could do it.
Yeah.
But that would get you an out. If not, there's no out.
Right here.
The whole entire
You can
property.
make your map
Right.
right there.
You get really caught
They're
there.
over here.
That could be. You could get really jammed up.
Oh, that I couldn't
Yeah.
tell you. I don't know.
Yeah, I could see that.
And now you're backing off on out.
Yeah. Are you working with an architect or engineer?
I do have an architect that I've worked with, but for this property, not as of yet.
definitely think you're gonna want to review that, you know, the whole parking issue.
Okay,
Kind of plan
We're
out
just doing it
like
straight.
your schedules, give yourself some buffers, see what, you know, how can it make sense?
Okay.
You know, with what you're trying to do.
okay,
Just so you don't, you know, unintentionally, you know, overbook yourself.
sure,
you know?
okay, makes sense.
And then there are some other, you know, if it can't fit with the number of existing spaces, then you might have to look at some alternatives. You know, like maybe a turnaround up on the north side or something on the bottom or, you know, things like that.
Mm-hmm, okay. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions or comments for the applicant? We appreciate your time.
Thank you,
This
I
was good.
appreciate you all's time too.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you know, we do need a preschool, so this is kind of nice and we
Thank you.
hope it works out.
Yes, me too, thank you.
All right, thank you. Well, you know, one thing we should also do is just ask for public comments. I don't think there's anyone online and I see no one in the audience now. So we're
Please
gonna
speak for
let the,
yourself.
we're gonna let the 3-minute restriction go.
Chairman, I will add just to set the base, because this is a difficult site, regardless of who the user would be. And it's not an ideal retail type of use. And I think prior to that, before the academy, it was probably more of a service type of use in there that had, you know, a pretty passive parking, similar to the building, the yellow building at the corner that was at Dolores in there. And this is not unique throughout the corridor. We have these sites that they're, you know, the way they're kind of isolated from anywhere from each other, they're difficult to work with. You know, and then to add this, you know, you know, there's different tiers here. We're not dealing directly with the owner in this process, but somewhere in there, there's gonna, you know, to just make this most efficient, you know, I don't know what the changes are, but there probably will have to be some changes and something needs to be figured out in there to make the flow work better in there that might require some investment just beyond the striping or so. And I'm not trying to dissuade you in any way, but I think once we start taking a look at this, you know, somebody had mentioned about widening the apron, you know, that might be a possibility. And looking at other alternatives, but you know, there has to be a way. There's a problem just trying to get onto Olive, but that's going to be applicable to anyone along the Olive corridor. But it's that internal movement within that site, and it's a pretty narrow drive once you take a look at it. It's a one in, and then to get out, you have to do a 3-point turn. And
Let me ask you a question, Carlos, and Tim as well, since you've had direct experience with this site. What do we anticipate the amount of cars and traffic coming in or out to be more of an issue with this or less of an issue?
I think that what would, at least from what I would see, would be that it's going to be compact it's going to be between that 6 to 7:30. And then after that, it's probably not an issue throughout the day till you get maybe to the 4:30 to 6 in there. Now, the academy probably had more staggered classes.
Well, they had more staggered and they were all afternoon. They didn't have any
Morning.
rush hour, dealing with morning rush hour or anything like that. It
But
was all
afternoon rush.
Afternoon rush hour they would have had, and they had classes with 20 or so kids in it.
That's what I,
And that the next class would start 15 minutes later. So there's always a group coming and a group leaving at the same time, basically.
so that.
And then
to
the
me
parents
is-
would sit in their cars and take up the spots, and you'd have to go around the side to do it because that's kind of how it worked there.
Yeah.
So I parked where your playground majority of the time because I was always late. I would park, not because I was late to pick up my kids, but sitting there doing nothing, for the record. But I parked around where your playground was so I could get out, I could back in and get out really fast because theirs I like yours more that the kids actually get with the parents. Like these kids are running every which way and you couldn't see what was going on. And I didn't like that at all. part of it, so.
So it-
There's good parts and bad parts.
I think almost if you could set up the kind of scheduled times, that people stick to it, it seems like it might be better.
Yeah.
You know, than what Dance Academy had.
I would agree. I think that and having somebody directing some kind of a traffic flow out there and
Okay.
making sure their parents aren't, they're all late to work. They're trying to drop off their kids as fast as they possibly can. We've all been in the situation where they want to go. And that's when things happen that are not good.
Yeah, that's a good point.
One thing we did speak about, I spoke with Carlos and Jack about, I don't want to say a road, but just like for the law offices that exist there, so more of a connect, I know there's a formal term, but I'll use a connection pavement that can serve as a turnaround there. I haven't been able to catch him. I have stalked this building for a long time and I haven't been able to see anyone in that business. But, you know, reaching out to see what we can do with regards to that, because I don't see a lot of traffic going in and out of that law firm currently. So,
That would be ideal. I mean, if you could come down where the front door is and come right over there and shoot right out. But
I just don't know if they're gonna.
they're not gonna.
no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, yeah, you could even have a carpool
Right.
line if you did.
That's not what I want to say, but yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Or if you could get somehow a cross easement all the way through there to get back to Dolores, that
Mhm.
would work. But yeah, I just don't see
I mean,
those.
even if you did it up front and you drop the kids off, the problem is you're gonna back up Olive, you're gonna back up to Olive while you're trying to get that kid out of that car.
Mhm.
And they're screaming and yelling at you.
If there were a right turn only sign up there, how enforceable would that be? I mean, is that just like a private sign or is that like something that the police department's gonna put up?
I think because it would be on private property, the control of the private property, that it wouldn't be something
Okay,
that can be enforced. I can check. I'm not the authority on it, in there. When there's a median and then that's something that's in the public right away and you have to do it, like where we have at Firestone and Walgreens. That's a controlled one, but as you get towards the Shops at Price Crossing and they got that right turn only, I don't know if, yeah, that might be something to look at.
Turning left onto Olive during rush hour right there is
A
I
nightmare.
don't think many people are going to attempt to do that. Because it's just, you'd sit there for 30 minutes. I think probably most
get the
people
middle lane.
Turn right
turn
anyway.
right, cut through the parking lot down there, get on Price and then go, use the light to go
But I
back
gotta
the
tell
other
you,
way.
taking a left out of there at night and those cars flying at you
Yeah.
is, you can't see down there that far either as well. I've seen a couple accidents.
Mm.
So just making it a right turn only.
I'd make it a right turn only, so people that are coming in are taking a left, you're not having a problem with either. And I mean, it's a small, tight apron. I mean,
Especially with that change of direction kind of
right
right there.
You cut it off too slow and whatever, I would always do right out.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, some challenges ahead.
Yes.
But I think with good planning and, both on the engineering as well as your schedule could help, but it's still a challenge.
Yes.
So,
Thank
all right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
very
Thank
much.
you all for your time.
All right, Carlos, we'll move on to item B, which is the 2024 comprehensive plan update.
And Chairman, we don't have anything to talk to. We do know we need to start to addressing the tree canopy aspects of the code, and we'll be getting those to you. Also, we've gotten some concerns regarding residential lighting. That some people would like to see some regulations imposed about control. Some of these, how they're directed in there, because we have I think pretty comprehensive lighting control for new commercial properties. They'd like to see that expanded to some of the existing commercial, but also some residential controls putting in place. In there.
Such as?
More like that, because they're so easy to purchase now and install on your own, not to have like the points are like set out towards the street, like bring it down to some extent. And there are the concerns, I mean, there's some,
Yeah.
In there. And it's difficult to control the intensity, especially at a residential level from an enforcement side. But it's visible to see when a bulb is just facing too far upward. In there.
Yeah, like into traffic, is that?
Or into the street or to a neighbor's side, to the side of the house. of the
Okay.
neighbor.
Doesn't code already that you have to keep the lighting on your?
You
lot,
do for new commercial development, I
not
think.
residential?
Correct.
Yeah, interesting.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you can argue that it's a nuisance and look at it from that perspective, but then the burden of proof's kind of on us trying to state that it is. And when you look at the items that are defined as a nuisance, it never references lighting in there. It does say things like, things that make it inconvenience or harm. It's not a harm, but it is an inconvenience.
You can't sleep at night because the light's shining in your bedroom. That could be hard.
But that's something, again, then from a code enforcement perspective, is like, I can't, I can't say that it's making this person not able to sleep because I'm not that person. So I have to rely on the neighbor and then, or the person that is unable to sleep
To complain to you.
to complain to me, but also to be present. Again,
Yeah.
I can't.
I see where you're going.
It becomes a real tricky thing because I'm advocating, this is what I've been told. And there, but I'm still able to sleep because I'm not the one that lives next to them.
Right.
So it's one of these, from an enforcement perspective, and we always take the approach of, talk to the person, hopefully they can get it resolved, in there, and try not to take that type of thing to court. So.
Yeah. Is there a particular issue that's popping up?
No, we've had a couple of calls of some that are overly, a couple of houses that are overly lit, and right now one of them, like, the subdivision is trying to coordinate addressing that.
Gotcha.
So.
Gotcha. I could easily see where that could be a problem and difficult. So.
Yeah. So we'll have that, and then again, we got some quotes to get everybody booklets for the comprehensive plan, and we'll be getting those for you at our next meeting. What are the other items? Our Public Works Department is working on a contract to utilize some funds we're getting from the Metropolitan Sewer District to do an analysis of all the new residential stormwater detention sites, to identify all their locations, their sizes, and then kind of analyze them, like what impact or effect they've had in there. And then they're also going to assist us continuing the stormwater master plan in there, looking at I forgot the watersheds throughout the community. So they're working on some of those items in there. We'll of course incorporate some comments from the commission. Parks, always a very great advocate for the comprehensive plan as they work and engage with whether it's Olivet and Bloom or the Olivet advocates, the sustainability advocates, and hosting type of information about sustainability and trees and that nature. So kudos to Beverly and her team there. So there, it's on the agenda on there. And then of course with the council considering the new budget, there's been things that we've been referencing, that help support the comprehensive plan in the process. So.
I do know my wife attended one of the parks presentations on native plants, and then they walked around to kind of show how they were, implementing this, in Warson, not Warson Park, but yeah, it was Warson Park. And she just loved it. Now, of course, we now have big plants for our own house. But yeah, it's really good. It was really a neat presentation. So. Very good. Anything else?
Not for the comprehensive plan outside of
Okay.
that.
Good, good, good. So then we'll move on to meeting minutes. Item C, and I see before us, we have the May 2nd, 2024 meeting minutes, as well as the May 16th, 2024 minutes. Well done, Jack. Way to get these, keep these up to date. This is great. Would someone like to, well, please get a chance to review, and then if there's any items right now that you want to correct, please identify it. Otherwise, I'd like to hear a comment acknowledging receipt of these.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Sam.
I'd love to acknowledge receipt of the meeting minutes for May 2nd and May 16th.
As acknowledged. Good, good, good. Any questions or changes, please contact Jack. You know, it's my question. Okay, we'll move on to reports. Carlos?
All right, Chairman, a couple of items just to bring to the commissioner's attention. Going back to the comprehensive plan, I forgot to note. So the council will be holding a public hearing at the meeting next week on Tuesday for the adoption of the code references to the 2024 comprehensive plan update. And we'll get those to you at the following meeting. So they're going through that process. And there, regarding other activities going on, we have a meeting scheduled next Tuesday with representatives for the Irvington Place Apartments. That's the new apartment complex behind the Chevys and CVS. We'll be meeting with the general contractor, who's going to be Brinkman Construction, and have a meeting including the fire marshal, the building staff, and then their group, and talking about the phasing and scheduling of that. They hope to get groundwork up and running by just July. So that will start moving in the process. As you go further down towards Olive Crossing, it was brought to our attention today that the Clover occupancy rate is now 71%. So that's pretty good on that. We've issued the permits for Audi, and you should be seeing work probably staging within the next week or two on the site now. So they have a pretty brisk schedule that they're trying to keep and to get that opening. I got no information regarding lot 3, unfortunately. That's the retail building in there. So we hope, and we're still trying to advocate to get that process moving on that development side. Easy Storage has a partial occupancy. Their first level is open. They're still waiting for some equipment regarding the elevators to get the upper levels up and accessible. Everything else is pretty much finished. Got a landscape inspection scheduled there for tomorrow. I have not had a chance to take a look at it, but I heard the ivy wall in the back is up and in place, so I'll be able to see that tomorrow. And there, and then the first tenant, retail tenant for the lower level, has submitted their application. So that's at Domo, that does the ice cream and donut combination aspect on that. So a Domo, DOHMO.
They're in the Business Journal, go find the article.
It's a neat little concept. And there, across the street, you'll probably start seeing the forming of the roadways that will be involved in there. And then we're in the process of reviewing the first 2 buildings. They want to get the footing and foundations in place while they're doing all the concrete work in there. And that's pretty exciting as that goes through. Regarding Great Heart Brewery, I had a discussion with the owner this week, and they're on their scheduling. They first approached us, they were hoping that by May that he could get in there to start the brewing process. And they are behind, and his goal is to be able to get into the building in August to start brewing, and then hopefully have a late September or October opening for that facility. So that's moving along. The Olivet Center has 2 new tenants where once they go into place, that place will be fully occupied. That's the shopping center with Party City and the St. Louis Academy of Dance located in there. We do have a couple of plats that will be coming before the commission for subdividing that we're, one, I've seen the conceptual review, but they haven't submitted the application yet. We're still waiting on the one at White Rose, where there will be 2 new houses. And they're still working on the improvement plans. There'll be a small road improvement, but they anticipate that they'll be coming before the commission hopefully in the next couple of weeks. In there, which would be good because for some reason, I mean, the number of new construction has been pretty low this year, or slow this year. However, when the receipt of permits has been pretty high for my department. I mean, we've been trying to keep up pace with the number of permits that are coming in. Most of those are residential, interior remodels and basement finishes and small additions and things that you've seen in there, but the number of new houses was really slow this fiscal year. We're working on our next fiscal year budget for 2025. Again, we use, advocated with a lot of the concepts of the comprehensive plan to get some assistance to do some, get some consulting help on preparing a landscape ordinance, looking at the tree ordinance type of stuff in there, and also for stormwater. In there, we put the schedule of events. Our next meeting is going to be June 20th. I do know that we will have another pool. We will have the addition that is up on Stony side that was before the commission at our last meeting, and I'm not sure. I think there was one more item that we might see in there. I'd have to take a look in there, but after that, our first meeting in July is in the 4th, and I would assume, well, we can't host a meeting when the facilities are closed, so that one will be canceled.
Okay. Summer break. All right, good. Carlos, what's the occupancy of the Oliver?
The Oliver, it's been a while that I've checked up on it. They were over 90%. I don't know if they're still at that same capacity or not in there, but we can find out. We'll check into it.
Good. Okay, fantastic. Any questions or comments for Carlos? Seeing none? Missy?
Thank you very much. Carlos does a wonderful job with summer. You see a lot of the news and the events. I'm just gonna note that the Coffee with the Mayor, we will be having Olivet Diner and the St. Louis Dance Academy as the guests. And it will be pie and coffee because Melinda will be bringing pie. And we have permanently made the choice that Coffee with the Mayor will be at Five Oaks. People have said that it's a much more warm and fun event to be at, to come and watch what's going on. So that's a permanent move. And it'll be a lot easier on staff too, because I just learned that when it's here, the staff are bringing the stuff from Five Oaks to here. And it's like, okay, let's use a little bit of common sense. And it has been a conversation, and we've listened to the feedback of the people. So that will become permanent. I do have a question, Carlos, and that is with reference to the land that does not yet have any development on it, that is over at the Oliver. What's going on with that? Are you allowed to identify anything, or is there nothing going on?
No, we've had some discussions about contacting the contractor and then looking at the developer's agreement in there, but as of right now, we're not aware of any activity going on at that site, and that's unfortunate.
Didn't you say before they were waiting till what happens,
With the crossing,
Right.
and that what retail would be going in that space, which at that time, okay, but we got a retailer right away at Easy Storage.
Yeah.
So it kind of puts it into question.
Exactly. Okay, good. Any questions or comments for Missy? Jack, do you have anything you want to add? That being said, I guess we're gonna adjourn. So we're gonna adjourn at 8:16 tonight. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Chairman.